hosting a vigil and reading some names. I do want to start off by acknowledging that the land we stand on is unceded, stolen land that belonged to the Chumash people. There's a historical truth that we need to acknowledge and respect and understand that the indigenous people of this nation are still here. They are not immigrants. Many of us are not immigrants, either through virtue of being indigenous to this land or because our ancestors were brought over as slaves. So again, let us acknowledge the land that we walk on today. I'm going to go ahead and introduce and please give a warm round of applause to our first speaker, Dawn Addis of Women's March Slow.
All right, San Luis Obispo, thank you for coming out in the sun today. And we want to acknowledge Allies for Immigration Justice, Slow County, for being a voice for the voiceless. Give them a round of applause. If you haven't met them yet, this is their tent right over here, and they really instigated this event for San Luis Obispo County because the immigration issues aren't just happening at the border. We know there's immigration issues here in San Luis Obispo, and we know that we need to be taking action steps. So they're going to be sharing those with you today. Let's make today matter. We are here truly because you are the light. If not for you, things would be much, much worse with this border crisis. And today we shine our light as part of Lights for Liberty, a worldwide movement created to shine the light on inhuman treatment of immigrant people and their children. Folks that are in detention centers, at the border, and across the United States. 70% of people in detention centers are in privately owned, for-profit prisons.
Oh!
Children are dying at our border, not because we can't take care of them, but because by policy, we refuse to. Women's March San Luis Obispo and Allies for Immigration Slow County are calling for the end of a system that marginalizes the most vulnerable. We are calling for an end of criminalization of those that are seeking asylum. We are calling for an end to family separation. We are calling for an end to for-profit brutality and death. And we are saying, don't look away. Be the light. Make your light count today, because this is truly the American way. And now I'd like to introduce Mary Lynn Crandall of Allies for Immigration Justice, Slow County. Mary Lynn.
Hi everybody, can you hear me? Okay. My name is Mary Lynn Crandall, and as Dawn mentioned, I'm with an organization locally, a locally organized organization here in San Luis Obispo County called Allies for Immigration Justice. If you'd like to know more about us, we just launched a website, alliesforimmigrationjustice.org. We are a small, local grassroots organization that is working to support the immigrant community. We've been doing this work for about a year and a half. Today is not a one-time event. It is a call to action. Doing away with detention centers will demand that we educate ourselves, that we educate others, and that we cannot go back to our lives as usual. People can help at different levels. We understand that many of you have full-time jobs and kids in a busy life. If you have your elected phone numbers, your congresspeople's phone numbers in your phones, it takes 3 minutes to call them and leave a message. I know because I've done it many times. We can help you to know who to call and what to say. We can recommend organizations that are boots on the ground doing the difficult work, helping immigrants at the border. You can donate to them. They need our help. You can attend one of our educational events. The details are all on our website. If you have more time, you can come with us to the Mesa Verde Detention Center in Bakersfield to visit someone in detention or make a trip to the border. Let this day be a beginning of a commitment to action. Join us in our efforts. You can sign up for our newsletter today at our Allies table over on the grass area over there. There also will be a handout with some action information that you can take. And both Women's March and Allies will be sending action information in a follow-up email after the event. If you'd like to learn more about us, go to our website at alliesforimmigrationjustice.org. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Lynn. Let's give another round of applause to Mary Lynn, who has been a key organizer. Thank you. I am part of the Central Coast Coalition for Undocumented Student Success. We are a local organization that supports undocumented students and their families here on the Central Coast. We do this through legal clinics, workshops where we have safety guides that help families plan for the emergency event of a deportation. We also provide legal fee assistance through funds for DACA renewals and other things that our students might need. Thank you. We are here today to stand against the human rights abuses on the border. If you would like to get more information, sign up for our newsletter. We have a table over there. Find out how you can help. Just like Allies for Immigration Justice, we also have another sheet where you can learn what you can do. One thing I wanted to emphasize is that as an individual, we are strong, but we can only do so much. We are stronger when we work together, when we unite and stand for people collectively like we are doing here today. And so I applaud each and every one of you for coming out here and saying enough is enough, and this is not okay, and we will not allow this to continue in our name. We have to stand against the detention of people at the border, the deportation of community members here in the US and here locally, and we will not stand for the injustices that are occurring in our name. Thank you. Introducing our speakers. Our first speaker is Erica Reyes from Congressman Salud Carvajal's office.
Good afternoon, San Luis Obispo. My name is Erica Reyes, and I'm a district representative for Congressman Salud Carvajal. It's an absolute honor to be here with you all today to shine a light on the cruel and malicious and inhumane actions that are taking place in this administration. We are here today because we refuse to be complicit in the abuse of children and refuse to stand idly by while our American identity is being used to commit human rights abuses along and within our borders. A year ago today, we gathered to protest the separation of children from their parents at the borders, but now those children are dying. They're dying scared, alone, and helpless without their basic needs as a human being met. Men, women, children, and LGBTQ identifying people are being warehoused in unsanitary detention facilities well beyond safe capacity without access to showers, beds, food, basic sanitary goods, and clean clothes. Communicable diseases are spreading throughout the overcrowded facilities and in some instances are not being timely addressed. 3 days ago in a House Oversight Committee hearing, Yasmin Juarez recounted her experiences in the icebox and a longer-term detention facility with her daughter, Mari. Mari became sick while in the care of the United States government due to her proximity to other ill children. She was seen by a physician and prescribed antibiotics for an ear infection when in fact she had contracted a severe respiratory infection. Yasmin came to the United States from Guatemala in hopes of finding a better life for her daughter, and instead, she watched her baby girl die slowly and painfully just a few months before her second birthday. Mari died on Mother's Day, and Yasmin left the hospital with only a piece of paper with Mari's handprints and pink paint, a Mother's Day present the staff had made before Mari left this world. This is Yasmin's reality, and a year later continues to be the reality for those coming to the United States to seek refuge and asylum. They're coming in fear for their life because of the conditions in their home country. They're fleeing corrupt, oppressive governments, criminal syndicates, and in some instances are climate change refugees. The fact that the conditions at the facilities are getting worse is fully intentional. This administration has made it clear that it is their policy to make the experience of obtaining asylum torturous to deter other migrants from coming to the United States to seek legal asylum. And this is absolutely unacceptable. This needs to be treated as the humanitarian crisis that it is. This administration must be held accountable by the United States Congress, elected officials all across the United States, and the American people themselves. There are ways to treat this like a humanitarian situation rather than an act of war. Alternatives to detention, allowing families to unite with family already in the United States while they await their court date, establishing temporary daycare centers, among others. Congress just passed emergency funding for $4.6 billion, and the resources are there. For this administration to say that they cannot treat human beings more humanely is a clear abdication of responsibility and human decency. Members of Congress continue to hold hearings to shed further light on the conditions at these facilities and the experiences of migrants. They are visiting the facilities and witnessing firsthand what is happening. The reality of the situation is that the power and authority to unilaterally act to improve the facilities and systemically change the way ICE, CBP, and HHS are acting rests with the President of the United States. Congress and Senate can pass legislation, but ultimately, the President must choose to sign and enact it. We will continue to elevate, investigate, and demand changes, but what we need is pressure by the American people, and specifically pressure from the people who support this president. That is the only thing that will change the current course of action. Because right now, we have the closest thing to a dictator as a president in the history of the United States. As members of a democratic society, it is us who decides how our country acts. The American spirit is one that actively resists the confines of tyranny, and today, right here with all of us, that spirit is alive and well. We are here to redefine and reclaim what it means to be patriotic. It is standing up and speaking out for those who do not have a voice and leading from a place of compassion instead of fear. I thank you all for coming to voice your support and show you care for the thousands of families undergoing one of the most traumatic times in their lives. But while we get to go home today to material comforts surrounded by loved ones, we cannot forget the people who are suffering. All people in the United States, regardless of status, have rights, and it is our responsibility to demand that those rights are honored. So please continue to speak out to friends and neighbors about these atrocities, to bring awareness and to pressure this administration to do better and to be better. Thank you.
Just a quick note about making phone calls to your congresspeople. A show of hand, how many of you call your congresspeople regularly? Yay. That's awesome. I just want to talk a minute about that because I think there's a misconception that if you've voted somebody into office, you don't need to call them. And I just want to say we need to remember that the opposition is calling our congresspeople's office daily on this immigration issue. And to counteract that, we need to be calling as well.
Yeah.
Please. As I mentioned before, it only takes 3 or 4 minutes if their numbers are in your phone to speed dial them and leave a message. And if you have phone anxiety, you can do it in the middle of the night. So, did you know, how many of you knew that phone calls to our legislators' offices are tallied? Okay, that's super important. And it's super important that you educate other people about that, because it gives our congresspeople ammunition when they need it, and it gives them motivation when they need it, and it applies pressure when they need it. So we all need to be calling on this issue. And if you're not familiar with the website 5calls.org, they regularly update their scripts. You don't even have to think about what you're going to say. You just can go there, and they have scripts on immigration issues that are regularly updated. Thank you.
Thank you. Please welcome Rita Casaverde of the Women's March and Mary Lynn Back. We will be sharing a story that is going to be bilingual. Rita.
Muchas personas en nuestra comunidad han sido afectadas por ICE y se han visto obligadas a vivir con miedo. Es por eso que una persona en particular ha elegido compartir de manera anónima una parte de su experiencia cuando fue agarrado por ICE. Esta persona pertenece a nuestra comunidad. Es un padre, un esposo, un hombre que trabaja como voluntario en la escuela de su hija y en la comunidad. Una persona que por más de 18 años ha trabajado fiel y diligentemente para el mismo empleador local. Por favor, preste atención a su historia y esperamos que junto con las otras historias que escuche hoy, lo lleve a actuar.
Many people in our community have been adversely affected by ICE and are forced to live in fear. One individual in particular has chosen to anonymously share with you a part of his experience of when he was taken by ICE. Please think about this, that there are many people in our community that are suffering at the hands of our country's aggressive and inhumane immigration policies. Know that this person is a part of our community. He is a father here. He is a husband, a man who volunteers at his child's school and in our community, a person that has worked faithfully and diligently for the same local employer for the past 18 years. His story will be read both in Spanish and in English. Please give his story your attention and take this opportunity to bear witness to this person's suffering and that of his family. We hope that along with the other stories you hear today, it will move you to take action.
Interrogación e intimidación. Fue el primer día de clases cuando los agentes de ICE me agarraron y me empujaron contra la camioneta antes de llevarme a Santa María, donde un agente me exigió que firmara una salida voluntaria. Le dije que no, que deseaba contactar a un abogado y presentar mi caso ante un juez federal de inmigración. Cuando escuchó esto se enojó, me gritó y me dijo, si no firmas, las cosas van a estar peor para ti. No firmé y finalmente me llevaron al centro de detención de inmigración de Adelanto, en medio del desierto de Mojave. Es una prisión federal asumida por GEO, una organización con fines de lucro. A mi llegada nos desvistieron y burlándose, nos pusieron ropa de presos. Me sentí humillado y solo. En el quinto día finalmente me permitieron llamar a casa. Ese día mi hija contestó y empezamos a hablar, cuando de repente una grabación llegó a la línea diciendo, esta llamada terminará en 30 segundos. En ese momento mi hija comenzó a gritar y llorando me decía, pa, no te vayas. Luego se cortó la llamada. Era como si me estuvieran alejando más y más de mi familia y de mi vida. Me sentí impotente porque sentí que nunca volveríamos a estar juntos. El dolor, el miedo y la tristeza comenzaba a consumirme, ya que cada día me sentía más solo.
It was the first day of school when ICE agents grabbed me and shoved me up against the van before taking me to Santa Maria, where an agent demanded that I sign a voluntary departure. I said no, that I wished to contact a lawyer and bring my case before a federal immigration judge. When he heard this, he became angry, yelling at me, demanding multiple times that I sign, and then threatened, "If you don't sign, things are going to get worse for you." I did not sign and eventually was taken to Adelanto Immigration Detention Center in the middle of the Mojave Desert. It was a federal prison taken over by GEO, a for-profit organization. Upon arrival, we were stripped down and mocked, made to put on inmate clothing. I felt degraded and alone. On the 5th day, I finally was allowed to call home. As my daughter and I spoke, a recording came on the line. "This call will end in 30 seconds. At that point, my daughter began to sob and called out for me. Then the line was cut. It was as if they were dragging us further and further apart. I felt powerless that we might not ever be together again. The pain and the fear began to consume me."
Las condiciones dentro de Adelanto son horribles. Éramos 8 hombres encerrados en una celda de prisión con un solo inodoro en la esquina, donde dormíamos. Cuando colocamos una sábana para la privacidad del baño, los geos lo arrancaron. En ese momento el hombre de la litera que estaba arriba de mí me dijo que era porque la gente usaba las sábanas para colgarse y suicidarse. Los geos nos obligaban a limpiar nuestra celda, a trapear todo con agua del inodoro. Tuvimos que poner pasta de dientes en el suelo para cubrir el olor. A menudo encontrábamos cucarachas en nuestra comida. Había una tienda de alimentos con alimentos no contaminados, pero era muy cara, 3 veces más de lo que cuesta en el exterior. Después de algunos días me di cuenta que esta prisión es un negocio, que la prisión no estaba dirigida por el gobierno, que estaba dirigida por una empresa privada llamada GEO. Me daba cuenta que todos a mi alrededor estaban ganando dinero, y mientras más tiempo te quedarás, más dinero ganan.
The conditions inside Adelanto are horrific. We were 8 men crammed into a cell with only one toilet in the corner of where we slept. When we draped up a sheet for privacy, the prison wardens ripped it away. The man in the bunk above me said it's because people use sheets to commit suicide by hanging. The wardens forced us to clean our cell, mop everything using toilet water. We had to put toothpaste on the floor to cover the stench. We often found cockroaches in our food. There was a shop with uncontaminated food, but it's very expensive, 3 times what it would cost outside. I quickly realized that this prison is a business, and that the prison wasn't run by the government, that it was run by a private company called GEO. I realized that everyone around me was making money off of me, and that the longer I was there, the more money they would make.
Lo que muchos no saben es que la detención de inmigrantes Lo que muchos no saben de la detención de inmigrantes es que tiene un costo enorme para nosotros como contribuyentes de los Estados Unidos. Aproximadamente cuesta $170 diarios por persona detenida. Eso es $17,000 solo por su encarcelamiento. Tengamos en cuenta que este dinero viene de los impuestos que pagamos al gobierno. En realidad, la corporación GEO obtiene $2.5 billones en ingresos cada año por la separación de familias y encarcelamiento de los inmigrantes. Para el público, esto no tiene sentido financiero, pero lo más importante es que si pensamos en los niños alejados de su familia, como mi hija de 14 años, y todos los niños maltratados y encarcelados en la frontera, son ellos los que pagan el precio más alto. Nosotros estamos pagando por esto y debe ser detenido. Les suplicamos que tomen conciencia y acción en las medidas que se sugieren hoy. Exijamos terminar con el sistema de prisiones de inmigración con fines de lucro. Juntos podemos acabar con esto. Gracias.
What most people don't know is that the detention of immigrants like me comes at a huge cost for us as U.S. taxpayers. It costs approximately $170 a day to detain a person. This is $17,000 for my incarceration alone. We must realize that this money is coming from our tax dollars. In reality, the GEO Corporation makes $2.5 billion in revenue each year by separating families and incarcerating immigrants. We, as U.S. taxpayers, are paying a high cost, and this makes no financial sense. But more importantly, we must think of the children separated from their families, like my 14-year-old daughter, and of all the children who are incarcerated and abused at the border. It is they who are forced to pay the biggest price of all. I implore you to take the actions that are being suggested today and demand an end to the for-profit immigration system. Together, we can end this. Thank you.
Thank you to our readers, and thank you to that immigrant father who shared his story with us today. I would like to welcome Jan Meslin of Freedom for Immigrants to talk further about the immigration detention system. Jan.
Thank you. Last week, we visited Maria, not her real name, detained at Mesa Verde Detention Center in Bakersfield, a private for-profit prison run also by the GEO Group. She left her country and her one-year-old son behind. I can only imagine how awful her life must have been to leave her son. Shortly after asking for asylum at our border, she was placed into an icebox with many others. You may have heard about these places where people stay as they're getting processed for detention centers. She stayed for 13 days in temperatures between 50 and 60. Maria says she was permanently traumatized by that experience. Another short story, Olivia was reunited with her one-year-old son, Mateo, after U.S. officials ripped him from his parents at the border. Mateo spent months without family in a detention center in Texas. Olivia says that now he cries when he sees strangers. Children do not belong in detention, said Dr. Saragosa, president of the American Academy of Pediatrics. No amount of time spent in these facilities is safe for children. The most formative years are between 5 and 8. When we take children and put them in an environment with no hope, no parents, inadequate food and water, we are doing long-term permanent damage. The Trump administration's horrific policies are escalations of what is not new. We have been working with families separated by our immigration detention system for years. Right now, 52,000 women and men are in over 200 detention centers, 70% of which are private prisons that contract with ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And ICE, abolish ICE, yeah. About half of these people are seeking asylum, safety. The other half are fighting deportations. And these are only the adults. Where's the money coming from? You already heard, our taxes. In 2016, it was $2 billion, $5 million every day. A recent report said $775 per day for each child in these new tent cities. We already heard it was an average of $170 for the adults. This $775 is unbelievable. Democrats and Republicans continue to pass budget increases for the Department of Homeland Security. Just last week, they passed $4.6 billion to fund new detention centers and also the raids that are about to happen in 6 cities throughout the United States. So call your legislators, call all of them, Democrats and Republicans. Since 2012, I visited many people in detention from all over the world. Teachers, musicians, doctors, engineers, good parents wasting their lives away in jails when they could be contributing to our world. None of these people is serving time for a crime. None. Being undocumented is a civil offense. Because they're not part of the criminal justice system, They have no right to a court-appointed attorney, and only about 10% can afford attorney. So mostly they show up alone in front of judges when they finally get to the judge, and so often they lose their cases if they don't have an attorney.
It's illegal.
They also have no right to work, no right to take classes, and maybe worst of all, no right to a sentence. They can languish in detention for months, even years. Prior to the 80s, there were only about 50 people in detention, and now it's 52,000. What changed? Shame is right. 2 private prison companies were formed that lobbied our Congress to expand our mass incarceration system, not only for immigrants, but our whole mass incarceration system. CCA, now CoreCivic, and Geo Group were the biggest 2, both traded on the stock market, by the way. Remember Get Tough on Crime? In the following decade, a new prison was built every 15 days. And in 94 and 96, laws were passed that made it much easier to detain and deport people. That was during Clinton's administration. What we really need is a total reform of our immigration laws, but our Congress doesn't have the political will. But I say neither do we. We have to all get involved. Racism and xenophobia, the fear of foreigners, are real in this country. I think it explains why detention centers have been invisible to so many for so long. Fear of the other. Freedom for Immigrants, formerly Civic, is a nonprofit with a mission to abolish the U.S. immigration detention system. That's what we do, through a 2-pronged approach. First, we monitor the human rights abuses faced by immigrants in ICE detention. Our network of 4,500 volunteers throughout the country visit people in detention to provide them with support and monitor abuses such as sexual assault by guards and medical neglect that has led to deaths. Second, we model what a country without immigration detention will look like through community-based alternatives. Rather than being locked up, people should live with family or friends while working on their immigration cases. They should be treated with dignity rather than incarcerated. And we have proven that with a little support and a case management system, people still show up to all of their hearings. And at the cost of a fraction of what it is for detention. This is something we can fight for. The data and stories we've gathered allow us to push for systemic change. Visit our website at freedomforimmigrants.org to see what we've been able to do locally and nationally. Join our movement. Come visit with us at Mesa Verde if you want. Dignity, not detention. Please repeat. Dignity, not detention. Dignity, not detention. Dignity, not detention. Dignity, not detention.
Thank you, Jan, for the work you've done with Freedom for Immigrants. We are ready to begin our vigil. Please welcome Pastor Caroline Hall.
Thank you. So one time Jesus brought a small child into the circle of his disciples, and he told them, "Whoever welcomes a little child like this in my name welcomes me." But then he had some really harsh words that came after that. He said, "If anyone causes one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it would be better for him to have a large millstone tied around his neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea." We could spend a lot of time discussing what Jesus actually meant, but it seems pretty clear to me that he was saying that children are precious, and that God does not take it lightly when we fail to protect them and care for them. And that is why we are gathered here today, because we believe that all people and all children, and in fact all beings, are precious. And we believe that we have a responsibility to care for those who come to us looking for help in need of assistance, in need of justice, and in need of love. I'm going to quote Jesus again. He said, "Which of you, if your child asks for bread, would give her a stone? Or if he asks for fish, would give him a snake?" Well, of course we wouldn't, would we? No. And yet, that is what our government is doing in our name. Children and adults come in need of safety, and we give them camps and detention centers. Detention centers where they have little freedom and even their basic needs are not met. Instead of love and care, we give them new trauma. Instead of bread, we give them a stone. Instead of a fish, we give them snakes. I thank you for coming out today. I thank you for taking the time to stand here and say, no, we will not allow these little ones to be harmed in our name. No, we will not stand silently by and watch for a distance while they suffer. We come today to witness to our grief and to our anger. We come to say this is not who we are. This is not how we treat little ones, whoever they are and wherever they are born. So let us stand together and take a few moments of quiet to send our love and our light to those adults and children held in camps and detention centers who are afraid and alone, and to remember those who have died.
In many Latin American countries, we have a tradition that is used to honor those who have left us. We invite you today to join us in commemorating the memories that we have of the people that have passed and the children and the adults that have passed and died in ICE and BCP custody. This is done during funerals, and it is to remember that they're still present with us. And so we say a word in Spanish, the word in Spanish for present, which is presente. Can you guys say presente for me? Presente. I'm gonna read a few names, and I'm gonna give a brief description of who these amazing people were. And then Sharon's gonna help me here, and when she rings the bell, you're gonna say presente. Carlos Bonilla, 43 years old, father of 4, lived in the US for almost 25 years and owned a construction company. Carlos was arrested by ICE in April of 2017 while working. He died on June 10, 2017. Carlos Bonilla. Presente. Roxana Hernandez, 33 years old, Honduran transgender woman and asylum seeker. Died on May 25, 2018. Roxana Hernandez. Presente. Darlene Valle, 10 years old, traveling alone from El Salvador and trying to reunite with her mother in Nebraska. Died in September of 2018. Darlene Valle. Jacqueline Cal, 7 years old, came with her father from Guatemala. Died December 8, 2018. Jacqueline Cal. Felipe Gomez Alonso, 8 years old, came with his father from Guatemala. Died on Christmas Eve, 2018. Felipe Gomez Alonso, presente. Marie Juarez, 1 year old, came with her mother Jasmine Juarez from Guatemala. Date of death is unknown. Marie Juarez. Juan Leon de Gutierrez, 16 years old, unaccompanied child from Guatemala, died on April 30th, 2019. Juan de Leon Gutierrez. Wilmer Josue Ramirez Vaz, 2 years old, came with her mother from Guatemala, was forced to sleep outside on the ground, died of respiratory infectious diseases on May 14th, 2019. Carlos Gregorio Hernandez Vasquez, 16 years old, unaccompanied child from Guatemala, died on May 20, 2019. Carlos Gregorio Hernandez. Joanna Medina Leon, 25 years old, transgender woman and asylum seeker from El Salvador. She was a nurse before coming to the U.S. and recognized that she needed IV fluids, but was denied. Died June 1st, 2019. Joanna Medina Leon, presente. 25-year-old Oscar Martinez Ramirez and his 23-month-old daughter, Valeria from El Salvador. Exasperated by the wait to apply for asylum, Oscar tucked Valeria inside his black shirt and attempted to swim to the U.S. Both drowned on June 24, 2019. Oscar Martinez and Valeria Martinez, presente. Now please join us on a 1 minute of silence in respect for all the people that have died at the border.
We will shine a light. We will shine a light. We will shine a light today. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we will shine a light today. We will raise our voice. Raise your voices. We will raise our voice. We will raise our voice today. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we will raise our voice today. We will take a stand. We will take a stand. We will take a stand today. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we will take a stand today. We will share our land. We will share our land. We will share our land today. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we will share our land today. We will bring them home. We will bring them home. We will bring them home today. Oh, Take a deep breath. We've heard some sad, sad stories today. Take a deep breath, everyone. Turn to your neighbor. Look into his or her eyes. Feel it. We've been one of over 800 Lights for Liberty events taking place this weekend on 5 continents and in countless cities. We've tried here as well as throughout the world to center the impacted people and the frontline activists who've been working decades for justice in immigration practice and policies, and who continue every day to work as hard as they can to save immigrants' lives. Immigrants who, with any luck, will be our neighbors one day. Finally, Americans, all of us here, not just Americans, are standing up for the most vulnerable people right now. People who are being imprisoned, tortured, and killed by neglect or intent in detention camps, no, concentration camps all over this country. Your work matters. But this is not the end of this. This is the end of this event, but it is not the end. It's just a beginning of something bigger than any of us could ever have imagined. These sad stories we've heard today, the names of these little children who have sacrificed their lives for freedom, will echo in our hearts and minds going forward. Our network is growing every day. We cannot go back to sleep tonight. We cannot go back to sleep tonight. We will be witness, we'll listen to what the impacted people are saying, and we will not allow them to be silenced. We will stand in solidarity until every last one of us is free. And I include me, myself, all of you who are not impacted by these issues on a day-to-day basis. Because until everyone is free, if there's one person who's not, then all of us are oppressed. Everywhere I go, I'm asked, what can I do? All of us with Allies for Immigration Justice, everywhere we go, we make presentations and we hear, what can I do? What can I do? And you heard some answers from Mary Lynn previous. At our table, we have action sheets of ways you can make a difference. And I want to say, donate money and volunteer. Make phone calls, even if you think your electeds agree with you. Push further, show up, listen more than you speak. Do things that make you uncomfortable. Standing in the hot sun is uncomfortable, it's okay. Get proximate, take a trip across the border, meet the frontline activists who are doing this work. Raíces, Al Otro Lado, Border Angels, No More Deaths, Freedom for Immigrants, ACLU, get proximate. Meet the immigrants that are standing in lines every day at the border crossings, waiting for that number, waiting for that interview, waiting for their day in court, waiting to hear, yes, you can be my neighbor. You don't have to hide and cower any longer in a cold cement cell. Change the narrative. What kind of America do you want to live in? And lastly, this is the mantra to live by. This is the mantra to repeat every morning in the mirror. Repeat after me, and I want to hear your voices. Do the right thing.
Do the right thing.
Don't look away.
Don't look away.
Stand up and fight back.
Stand up and fight back.
Do the right thing.
Do the right thing.
Don't look away.
Don't look away.
Stand up and fight back.
Stand up and fight back.
Okay, guys, you got it. Now for the march. We're going to face Oso Street. Good, I see people turning already. We're going to turn left across Monterey. We're going to follow our leaders. And remember to stay on the sidewalk, obey the traffic signals, chant loudly, do not engage with counter-protesters if you encounter any, and stand strong. Now we'll have some people at the front. Thank you very much for being here. Have a good march. Let it be heard.
There are chant sheets available at the Allies for Immigration Justice table. Have some.